What is up, MMA community? AustinMarr-MMA here. I know it's been a while since you all saw me last. I was previously writing for One Up MMA, now with Overtime Heroics. I'll have a link for them in the description. We do a lot of quality work over there, great writers, great staff. We also have a YouTube, Overtime Heroics MMA. You can check them out for sure. Um, as I noted, it's been a while since I've been back, and I'm remotivated, refocused, getting serious. And as you can tell, I've got this sick banner behind me made by my father at printplusdesigns.com. You can check them out. They do any kind of shirts, hats, signs, banners, any kind of embroidery or screen printing that you might need. So definitely give them a check out if you're interested in something like that. For today's episode, we're going to be talking about Kamaru Usman versus Leon Edwards 2 this past Saturday. I've had some time to sit and dwell on it and think about the fight and all the after effects on it. So I hope y'all enjoy. Thanks.
Money. ED. Hey, hey, hey. Boo, boo, boo. Brr, brr. Bitch, I'm the man. Bitch, I'm the man.
So to start this video off, I feel like it's needed to just kind of read the stats out there and talk about the numbers of the fight between Leon Edwards and Kamaru Usman too. And if you look at it, significant strikes, Kamaru Usman landed 83 of 135. This is in totality. Leon Edwards landed 55 of 75. Takedowns, Usman was 5 of 12, while as Edwards was 1 of 5. And control time was 10 minutes and 36 seconds in favor of Usman and 2 minutes and 55 seconds in favor of Edwards. You look at it round by round. Leon was 13 of 13 in strikes. Usman 6 of 7. Round 2, Usman 36 of 65. Edwards 20 of 28. And round 3, Usman 10 of 17. Edwards 7 of 10. And then round 4, very dominant round for the champ, or former champ. Usman was 22 of 30, whilst Edwards was 6 of 10. And then the last round, Usman was 9 of 16, and Edwards was 9 of 14. And, judging by that, obviously that doesn't tell the whole story. But, if we just start with the first round, Edwards got that nice trip and really took Usman by surprise. Got him down on the ground, had Usman in a lot of danger, especially when he took his back and was really threatening that choke. But credit to Usman, because even though I picked Usman, and just let y'all know I picked Usman by third round TKO, I thought Edwards presented a lot of problems, especially if it hit the mat and Edwards got into a favorable position like he was in the first round with that, with taking his back and that rear naked choke attempt. And I didn't know if Usman could survive that because Edwards is a very great grappler. And Usman, great wrestler, fantastic wrestler, but not at the level of jiu-jitsu that Leon Edwards is. And Usman survived, but gave the first round to Edwards, in my opinion. Second round comes, Usman starts putting it together, gets the takedowns. Doesn't really control Edwards too much on the ground, but enough to take the round and seize back the control and make it 1-1 in my opinion. Third round, it just gets worse for Edwards. And Usman's really building up momentum, getting confident, and he really starts stringing it together. The takedowns are coming easier. He starts holding him down longer, really, putting in some shots there. A lot of fence control for Usman. And then the fourth round, pretty much the same thing, just gets worse for Edwards. And you noticed as the second round, third round, and then the fourth round ended, Edwards was just looking defeated, reading his body language. I saw where some people were saying he was tired. I don't know if it's so much that he was tired or if it was just the pressure was getting to him. The pressure as in Usman just repeatedly taking him down and holding him there and, putting in the nice shots. Even on the feet, Usman was getting the better of the exchanges. And, in the fourth round, you hear Edwards, pretty much say he's sorry to his coaches. And this is what really struck me as I was watching the fight live. Edwards' coaches did not let up. They didn't relent. They got after him. They were like, what are you saying you're sorry for? Uh, you need to get out there. This fight's not over yet. Along those lines, and I mean, just fired up. And to me, that's fantastic coaching, because they didn't let off uh, their fighter, and they let him know, hey, you haven't lost yet. There's a whole nother round out there. And credit to Edwards, credit to his team, for having the right guys around him, and then credit for Edwards, of course, for standing back up and answering that bell to enter the fifth round. And in my head, I'm sitting there thinking, okay, what does either guy need to do to win this fight? And for me, for Usman, was to just circle out of range, play it safe, don't engage. If there's an opening, take it, especially when it comes to wrestling. But for Edwards, I was like, this is it. He's got to go for it. It's all or nothing at this point. And watching that round, it was like a roller coaster, because the commentators, Joe Rogan and Daniel Cormier specifically, were kept talking about how dominant Usman is, and how Edwards is just looking done. He looks defeated, and like losing by decision by judges' scorecards is like a moral victory for him. And I'm just sitting there thinking, like, have y'all been watching this sport? This is MMA. This is, in my opinion, the greatest sport in the world. And if there's a second on that clock, it's not over. I don't care how dominantly the rounds have been won to your competitor in the past rounds or whatever throughout the fight. Like, if there's a second on that clock, you've got every chance in the world to go out there and take it. Especially when you're talking about a level of talent the caliber of Leon Edwards. Slick, well-rounded game, great stand-up, great striking. He's never been known for a finisher, but you don't have to be in this sport. You don't have to be a finisher that knocks people dead or submits everyone every single fight. And Edwards is just very well-rounded. In my opinion, he was the most well-rounded competitor that Usman had faced to this point. Even though they already faced initially, the first time. I don't think Colby Covington is the level of Leon Edwards when it comes to overall MMA skill. Sure, Colby has fantastic wrestling. He's got that grinding pace. He's got the pressure. You name it. But he's not the level of striker that Leon is. I don't think he's the level of submission threat that Leon is. They're both equal cardio-wise. You've got Gilbert Burns. Sure, he's got power in his hands. He's got slick jiu-jitsu. But I don't think he's the quality of overall fighter that Leon Edwards is. Leon just strings the punches together, the kicks together more than better than Burns. He's not better than Burns jiu-jitsu wise, but I think he's better than Burns wrestling wise, and I think he can mix that in with his jiu-jitsu. Poses a lot of problems, because Edwards, since that first fight with Kamaru Usman, his wrestling has gotten so much better. It wasn't like he was a scrub before, but like now it's, he can stop takedowns attempts from some of the best guys in the world. And as you can see, he can even trip up the best guys in the world and take them down. It was very reminiscent in that moment to Alexander Gustafsson and Daniel Cormier. To that point, no one expected Alexander Gustafsson to take down Daniel Cormier, and he did. And, again, with this fight, I've almost lost my train of thought. There's so many things playing in my head, but fifth round, I know how I got to this point was talking about the commentators, really talking down Leon, and it's almost like, you're Joe Rogan, you're Daniel Cormier, and you're counting out Leon Edwards, who's the number 2 ranked welterweight in the world, who hasn't lost a fight since he fought Kamaru Usman, 7 years ago. You look at the names of the guys defeated, and you're going to count him out with 3-4 minutes left in a fight where anything can change in the blink of an eye. We've seen it happen. We've seen Silva versus Sonnen, where Sonnen was winning on all judges' scorecards, and then last few minutes, what's Anderson Silva do? He throws up a triangle, gets it, makes Sonnen tap. The list goes on. You can find many instances out there, and I almost want to give credit to Usman because he was pressuring Leon still, staying in his face, keeping the threat alive of trying to finish Edwards. And but at the same time, it's almost like, you know, you're the champion. You've got something to lose. Edwards doesn't. And Usman just stayed there, and Edwards capitalized, man. You know, he threw out the beautiful right feint. He threw it out twice. He threw out one that was kind of more committal. You know, he really kind of got closer to Usman. It wasn't very powerful, but it's enough to get Usman's attention. Okay, I think another right's coming, you know. And then he throws it out again, but this time only half-heartedly, you know, prior to the first time he threw it. And Usman already seen it once, wants to duck and lean to his right. And what's that do? That sets up Leon for his perfect head kick, you know, his left high kick. And leading up to this fight, I was thinking that's one of his most dangerous weapons. And there's a video you can find of Leon Edwards, and I'll try to put it in the video. But it's of Leon drilling, I think it was Thursday before the fight, and he's throwing some elbows, and then he sets it up with a left high kick, which, you know, this wasn't elbows. He was throwing out the rights, but you can tell that that's one of his favorite weapons. And, you know, it landed perfectly on Usman. He got him to duck right into it. I don't like people calling it luck. I don't like people saying it was a Hail Mary, blah, blah, blah. You know, Edwards knew he had nothing to gain by losing this fight by judges' scorecard, so he was going to keep fighting. His coaches talked him into it, I think. And, again, that's perfect coaching by his team. Great on Leon to get back up and answer that fifth round. And the way he set it up was, I mean, it was perfect, you know. And these fighters, they don't win by luck, in my opinion. You know, it's give the guy, you know, his skill level the credit it deserves. Even though I had picked Usman, you know, it was just a beautiful moment. I sat there, you know, speechless for a good 3-4 minutes. Like, what did I just see? You know, and you know, it's one of those. You know, it sounds cliche. His nickname's Rocky, but it's like a Rocky moment. And that's what's so great about this sport. You have moments like that at any time. It could be any card, any fight. You know, there's comebacks. There's, you know, huge underdogs, you know, answering, fighting through the fire. And that's what this was, you know. And obviously, I think the trilogy fight's next. And with that trilogy fight, I'm not going to give a prediction yet on who I picked. But you know, there's a lot of questions surrounding that trilogy fight. And, you know, even we've seen these guys fight twice. And with this last fight, Usman, you know, answered a lot of my own personal questions was, you know, how are the knees of Usman? How is he after that right hand surgery, or left hand, I can't remember, hand surgery he just had this year after the Colby fight, the second Colby fight, I should add. You know, he's 35 years old. Is he going to be able to take down Leon? Is he going to be able to mix in the wrestling and striking together and chain it all to make a complete mixed martial arts effort to beat Leon like he did the first fight, even though it was way more wrestling oriented? And he answered all those questions this second fight. Even though he lost, you know, he was able to take Leon down and control him. And Leon's got fantastic cardio, and it still wore on him, you know, with all the pressure that Usman put on him. You know, he was 5 of 12, as I noted earlier. And, you know, as the rounds got going, you know, we got into the deeper rounds, the second, third, fourth round, the takedowns came a lot easier. But that's credit to Usman's pressure. That's credit to his strength, his will. And so, you know, with that, you know, you've got, okay, those questions are answered. But then after this fight, you've got another question now. How is Usman at 35, that's got banged up knees, has had a couple injuries, a couple surgeries, how is he going to bounce back after being knocked out like that? You know, because this wasn't a simple TKO. This was being knocked unconscious completely. And, you know, some fighters answer differently. You know, it's just one of those things we're going to have to wait and see, because, you know, we've seen fighters bounce back after being knocked out viciously, and seems like, you know, they're doing okay. You know, they still got the skill level. Their chin's still holding up pretty decent. But then there's sometimes you're never the same fighter, ever. Anderson Silva was never the same after being knocked out by Chris Weidman. And of course, there's multiple factors in that. It's not just being knocked out. Like I said, age, experience, prior injuries, and so it's like, how's Usman gonna respond to that? And so far, I've seen some of Usman's comments after the fight, and he's looked like he's in well spirits. He's very confident. He's humble. He's very congratulate to Leon Edwards, and he's handling the loss like a champ. And that's kind of what I expected if it ever came to this point where Usman was defeated for the title. Um, he's giving Leon all the credit in the world for it, and that speaks volumes to his level of respect and his level of maturity, in my opinion. And it also speaks volumes to how I think he would bounce back. I think he's going to still be the same Usman, more or less, mentally at least. I think he's still hungry, he's still motivated, but also on the flip side, it's Edwards, with some questions, and it's, we've seen y'all fight twice now, and you weren't able to stop Usman when it came to the wrestling aspect. He threatened him with a couple submissions, and they were very, very close, and Usman was able to survive. So, is Edwards going to be able to capitalize better in the third fight? Is Edwards going to be able to stop the takedowns? Because he wasn't able in the first or second fight. And so leading up to this trilogy, he's going to have to figure that out as well. But, Edwards does know in the back of his head now that he knocked out Kamaru Usman, who in my opinion is the second greatest welterweight of all time. So, the trilogy fight will be huge. I hope the UFC gets it done. I hope it's set for England in London. I know Dana was talking about Wembley. I don't know if it happens in Wembley, but that's a big fight. That's a massive trilogy fight, and it's great to see. It's almost poetic to see guys with the stories of Usman and Leon Edwards have this trilogy. That's just such a beautiful MMA thing, in my opinion, and I just hope they let both guys heal, let both guys be fully prepared, because I want to see both guys at their best again. And I think they both were the second time in the second fight, so I want to see it again for the third fight. Let's see who wins the trilogy. And with that, I know this is my first video. It may be a little rough. Hope y'all just bear with me. It'll get easier as time goes on for me. And with more practice, it becomes perfect. So thank you all for watching, and be sure to like and subscribe. Thanks.